So there is bail commerce going on. तो बहुत सारे भी जुडिशरी में भी खुद करप्शन है ना, अंकल जजेस, पापा के फ्रेंड हैं जज, तो because judiciary works through this model only, right? Only there are few people who are first generation lawyers and they are very successful, right? Generally, lawyer profession is a profession of legacy. It doesn't work that way. So ऐसा system ही है कि आप one generation में lawyer बन ही नहीं सकते. You cannot become, right? Hardly very few, and that to J. type who were practicing before independence. In general also, right? Chandrachud is also son of Chandrachud.
Just elevated one of the judges, जिसके father elevate करा थे.
So obviously, lobbying is very high in judiciary. So even if judiciary is not very fair, तो भी anti-corruption cases deal होंगे. Fine, special courts लगते हैं, corruption fast track होता है, right? But evidences are not there. Investigation is not proper. Fine, internal processing. करप्शन का जो इन्वेस्टिगेशन है वो इंटरनल प्रोसेस हो चुका है, राइट? ब्यूरोक्रेट्स इन्वेस्टिगेटिंग ब्यूरोक्रेट्स. That is why we can recommend for having an entirely anti-corruption services, right? Where people will come purely from a different services itself.
So then IPS,
we can have a different IPS anti-corruption, right? We can, yes, we need. There is huge vacancy in these areas. 37% under पुलिसिंग पे हम काम कर रहे हैं. यूपी लाइक स्टेट्स तो 70% लेस फोर्स पे काम कर रहे हैं. द वन दैट इज नीडेड. मैनेजिंग 25 करोड़ पीपल इज इट इजी टास्क. दिल्ली 3 करोड़ पीपल. व्हाट इज 1 लाख पुलिस? 80,000 स्ट्रेंथ हो गई, 87,000 दिल्ली पुलिस की, राइट? और उसमें भी दे आर डिवाइडेड इनटू सो मेनी अदर ब्रांचेस. इफेक्टिव पुलिसिंग में बी डन बाय जस्ट 50,000 पीपल. 50,000 फॉर 3 crores. हाउ इज इट पॉसिबल, राइट, दैट दे कैन नॉट डिटेक्ट हीनियस क्राइम्स इवन. चेन स्नैचिंग और लैपटॉप और फोन तो वो क्या ही ढूंढ पाएंगे, नहीं कर पाएंगे. इट्स नॉट देयर मिस्टेक. 50-60,000 फोर्स, 3 crore people, right? Porous borders, going and coming, moving here and there. It's not that easy. Fine, ठीक है. So we'll talk about further right now. Like next point लिखो. इसके बाद फिर we'll come back when we talk about something else. Next point, next heading. Heading मतलब under the heading you're writing. That's the point. Next point लिखिए. Increasing role of third-party actors. Increasing role of third-party actors. Okay. Strengthening media, civil society, voluntary organizations, citizens forums, etc. will obviously impact the functioning of administration. Okay. Models like NPM, New Public Management Model, or NPG, New Public Governance, right? Or DEG, Digital Era Governance, promote MSA, multi-stakeholder arrangement. That create balance of power, or that create balance of power in society. Okay. Second ARC has specifically, it is the main point within this you're writing. Second ARC has specifically highlighted the need for empowering the grassroots level organizations GLOs, grassroots level organizations. See, grassroots level कौन से हो सकते हैं? Same, पंचायती राज, fine. PRIs हैं, then SHGs हैं, self help groups हैं, fine. Then community based organizations हैं, NGOs हैं, and even media हैं. But media, basically they are talking more about the local media, social media, local media. They need to be strengthened. So how are we going to now strengthen this? Now, so there is a concept called Citizen Charter that you know. Citizen Charter, what it is doing. Now see, Citizen Charter is a reform that can be brought within the system. But what is its impact? The citizens' control over administration. So basically, क्या है? Citizen Charter is a tool for increasing external accountability of administration towards people. That's important. So it's not just an administrative reforms or reform in the system. It is basically a reform to increase external accountability. तो ये जितने भी mechanisms हैं वो किस लिए दिए? Right. All these लिखे. All these mechanisms will enhance external, comma, cumulative, comma, outcome, and multi-layered accountability. So that's concept, multi-layered accountability, multi-level accountability, right? Multi-level accountability क्या है? Levels. But how? Ultimately, it enforces the overall accountability. Then only it is beneficial. Otherwise, क्या use है? Multi-level planning. अच्छी बात है, right? But ultimately, somewhere it has to be converging. So, planning commission converge the multi-level planning. Today we talk about decentralized planning, local planning. So, how this will be strengthened now? See, for example, civil society. How to strengthen civil society?
Making people do a
Correct, right to right. जो पॉइंट लिखा उसी में सब हेडिंग, राइट? थर्ड पॉइंट का सब हेडिंग, राइट? सिविल सोसाइटी या CSO, सिविल सोसाइटी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. देखिए, सिविल सोसाइटी क्या होता है दैट यू नो, राइट? व्हाट, not just non-profit. It's a non-state, non-market system. Fine, that's very clear. It can be in various forms. Okay, civil society is what? Okay. These are okay. These are the bodies that are formed through citizens association. In various formats. Citizens association in various formats. For example, okay. For example, a community organization created to promote mutual benefit and perform local civic functions. Okay. Women's association, another example, women's association for mutual help or financial support. Mutual help or financial support. Okay. Students organizations, to promote students' welfare, correct? They are distinct from from being the part of the state as well as the market. Now they are not part of the state or the market. Generally function for the collective interest, or to perform any social welfare function. Okay. Even NGOs cooperatives, political parties, self-help groups, independent media, digital organizations, or VO, virtual organizations are also there. Digital organizations or VO, virtual organizations, etc., are civil society. Okay. Theoretically, it was Hegel who separated the concept of civil society from the state. Okay, scholars like Robert Putnam, Robert, scholars like Robert Putnam, or scholars like Robert Putnam, Stiglitz, Terry Cooper, or Nirja Gopal Jal, etc., have studied the changing role of civil societies. Okay. Even Gandhi can be considered as one of the pioneers of the civil society movements. Ram Mohan Roy, Gandhi, right? Jyotiba Phule, various people could be taken as, right? Even Ambedkar, one of the prominent civil society movements initiated by them. Many of them. फ्रीडम मूवमेंट में तो कोई भी गली में 4-5 लोगों को लेकर चल ही देता था, राइट? तो वो सब सिविल सोसाइटी हो गए. But obviously, when you talk of movement, that movement has to be something substantial, right? Yes, Bhagat Singh, movement, civil society movement. But they adopted some means which could not be called as totally civil society. So see, Putnam क्या करता है? He uses the concept of social capital. You can write now. Yeah. Robert Putnam, social capital. What is social capital? Social capital collective will, wisdom, fraternity, feeling of we as the resource for growth and development. That is called social capital, right? Converting the social cohesion as an economic resource. Freedom, collective will, security, correct. So when we have a sense of association, right? Sense of collective will, sense of being peaceful, right? We develop some mutual strength. That mutual strength is used as a resource for growth and development. He studied it, right? अब स्टीग्लिट्स क्या पढ़ता है? स्टीग्लिट्स का contribution है emergence of cultural and social changes under globalization in developing society. So what is the outcome of this? He says that these societies are witnessing now what? The growth of civil societies as a response to the negative impacts that globalization is creating. Sorry, uneven growth. Disparity, uneven growth. So disparity, uneven growth, law and order issues are there, poverty is there, they all are increasing, and because of this, they are witnessing the growth of civil societies. He's saying that the states or the governments have not been able to tackle the globalization properly, and this has driven the growth of NGOs and civil society. You're able to understand this? Fine, then Teddy Cooper. Civil society organizations providing ethical leadership, right? For example, you can take the Lokpal movement. So how the responsibility, right? Social responsibility is shifting from the government to the civil society. Leisure pub, anything, you can talk consumer protection है, कुछ भी है. But civil society की तरफ shift हो रहा है क्या? Ethical leadership, right? From politics and bureaucracy, the leadership of the society, the decision making in the society, the influence over the society is moving towards what? Civil society. Why this is happening? Okay, corruption, moral trust, lack of trust of people within the government institutions. That is all. So this can, right? But ये भी नहीं कि they can take the everything, but still we are seeing lot of emergence of क्या क्या grassroots level leadership. Yes. If you say the self-help group, what is it? So grassroots level leadership, women leadership, gender leadership, right? State has promoted to an extent, right? But these ideas emerged even before the state had promoted them. Once they become popular, then the government started promoting these ideas. तो इंडिया में भाई 1978 के अराउंड एसएचजी शेप ले रहे थे. 74-75 में ग्रामीण बैंक ऑलमोस्ट डेवलप हो रहा था बांग्लादेश. 78 में सेवा हमारे यहाँ सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयड वुमेन्स एसोसिएशन, इट स्टार्टेड बिकमिंग अ ग्रासरूट मूवमेंट. 84-85 तक we had lot of self-help groups are emerging, such kind of community-based organizations, women development and likewise, right? यही वो time है जब when you see चिपको movement start हुआ. So in various areas we were witnessing a lot of changes, and this you can say is the phase when government realized the potential of this voluntary sector, of this civil society, or let's say of the self-help movements. So government started promoting 1992 onwards SHG bank linkage program, right? Priority sector तो चल ही रहा था, but SHG bank linkage program through regional RRBs, right? Then this Nirja Gopal Jal anti-development, but इसका specific idea, right? Views the civil society organization or its emergence as, ये male है वैसे है ना, name is not like that, but civil society organizations emergence as driven by what? He believes that the emergence of civil society in Indian context or in many developing countries context has been generally, right, confrontationist. So as an opposition or criticism, to the state. Lokpal, Chipko, prohibition, reservation, farmers' protest, all of these movements somewhere have been confrontationist with the government, right? Means they have almost emerged as an opposition to the government. So he says that in this sense, the civil society is becoming very influential in India or in many developing countries, that as an opposition it is becoming very powerful, right? Or it is generally in the nature of opposing the government. It doesn't support the government, right? Where does it support the government? Any?
Intention making policy.
Like, example, students are sitting protesting against UPSC. Students are protesting against exam, against NEET scam, against this scam, right? Correct. Okay. Then opposition is protesting against something, right? Auto wala protesting against government's this policy. Farmers protesting against that policy.
Media.
Fine. Then
Media exposing loss of
frauds of government. That is also opposing. No. I am asking where are they supporting the government? Media is outrightly supporting the government. That's okay. We don't want that kind of support. हम कहाँ ये देखते हैं कि भाई government या लोगों के बीच there is a collaboration to do certain things. When you see government is promoting self-help groups, that is one example, right? Then government is promoting grassroots level organizations. ग्राम सभा, planning and development through ग्राम सभा. ठीक है? अब ग्राम सभा क्या है? वो basically कोई एक formal body है, right? But basically वो power system का part नहीं है. स्वच्छ भारत अभियान बिल्कुल, right? So ऐसे movements हैं जिसमें लोग गवर्नमेंट का साथ भी दे रहे हैं. करेक्ट. So we can say that Gopal Jial's contention is not totally acceptable, as today we witness large scale support movements emerging in favor of governments also. बिल्कुल CSR भी प्रमोट कर रहा है. हाँ क्यों नहीं है, कोऑपरेटिव मूवमेंट. बट प्रॉब्लम ये है ना कि भाई गवर्नमेंट आउटराइटली इन्वॉल्व नहीं करती है सिविल सोसाइटी को. नहीं, इट शुड आउटराइटली इन्वॉल्व पीपल. It should ask the stakeholders, right? Just a community policing है. Community policing is a model where it can be said that somewhere the involvement of people with the government is taking place. Fine, but see what happened in Kolkata. That was a community policing gone wrong. That was a deviation of the community policing. Right? The problem is that policing as a culture hasn't changed. So whether community gets involved with that or they get involved with community, more or less they are likely to influence the culture. Community policing कभी भी unequals के बीच में association नहीं हो सकता. नहीं हो सकता ना. Police corrupt है, you are part of community policing, you are a citizen who wants to support and help the policing system, right? Perform better functions. Then the police scares you, controls you, manipulates you by saying that we will file charges against you only if you don't comply with what we are saying. See, so even when you involve community, right, the corruption in police doesn't decline, it in fact enhances. So unless the people in the community policing are chosen wisely, or they are just allowed to function at a very elementary level without having a lot of direct interaction with the police, होना ही नहीं चाहिए. For oh, that's easily. But then if they are bargaining, if they get an information, right, and they start striking deals for the policemen, then if they start becoming middlemen for people in power, then that is the more possibility, no, because police is corrupt. If you are associating with a corrupt system, most likely to be what you are going to be, corrupt. Fine. How can you say I am powerless and I associate a system which is powerful and it is corrupt, and I will impact the system? You are powerless. How will you impact? Yes, if police is good, right, it promotes the community as intelligence, as eyes and ears and nose of the police, then it is good. So if police or government as a system is promoting citizens as eyes, ears, brains, or wisdom of the police system, of intelligence agencies, right? Good, very good. Why not? Women can be most likely involved, right? But they can be victims of exploitation. It works both ways, right? वो आपके ऊपर है, मतलब वो more or less, sorry, system की transparency के ऊपर है, that what kind of system we have created. It's more about transparency of the system. So it's not easy to say, okay, we can do this way. We cannot do this way, right? Students were protesting. So government sent around 100 policemen. There were not even 100 students who were protesting. Yes, you go during the day, right? Before the night, there were 150, 50, 60, 70 students sitting, right? There might be 500 students, but what they were doing, they were going, coming and going, coming and going, coming and going. No movement sustains that way. If at all it was a movement, right? It was just a reaction. That's why there's a difference between movement and reaction. If it was, it would have been funded by the coaching institutions. It would have sustained, right? But why will the coaching institutions fund a movement which was against them? Unless someone with a specific interest supports them, right? Understanding, so there are a lot of micro level issues when we are dealing with third party actors. Government's involvement of these actors is not easy, as they are most likely to impact the government system as well. Right? More avenues of corruption, more avenues for exploitation. Now you are saying they will give information regarding corruption. They can also give information regarding that someone has just bought a lot of jewelry. Right? Let's send one of the prisoners from the jail to his house. He will steal the jewelry and then we'll split the jewelry. See? This is very normal, you know. It normally happens. Most of the local thieves, most of the local robberies, they are already known to the police. So, how do you think it will happen? So, community policing or involvement of people in this process can be a decline or reason for decline of policing as well. In terms of civic administration, we can involve them like development, road construction, water management, sewage treatment, cleanliness drives, street lighting and management, garbage disposal, right? Environment eco-friendly practices, RRR. RRR में यार वो भी RRR है भैया. Chandramouli क्या है वो, क्या नाम है उसका? Rajmouli might have studied NCERT, no? From there he got the name RRR. Reduce, recycle, reuse. RRR. Common sense, right? So he might have prepared for UPSC. Rajamouli is an intelligent person, right? We never know. Many of them would have prepared for UPSC. Most of these media people who are quite successful, they all have prepared for UPSC. Many of them. Fine. So it is logical that if we involve people in such kind of strategies, then it is good. But don't involve in this, right? Yes. Where there is Naxalism, where there is terrorism, where there is a lot of insurgency and conflict, they can be useful, right? But then again, there will be both the consequences. We have already seen what has happened in the Naxal affected areas. People involving, government involving people in Salwa Judum backfired, right? People started killing people. So it has its own process. So civil societies have huge impact, but most of the civil societies like NGOs and other organizations, they also have been subject of elite capture. They have generally controlled, or they are generally controlled by the elites. The issues are highlighted by the elites, even though these issues are of the lower strata, right? But lower strata themselves are not committed to their issues, mostly because they earn their living by wages day to day. So obviously they cannot spare their time, just like students, they cannot spare their time. See? Now here, that's the problem. It's an open market. No, one set of student will not come, the other set of student will take admission, things will go on. Colleges don't work that way. That is why unionism and political movements can survive there, not here. Here it can only survive when they associate with those political bodies. But the moment they associate with the political bodies, it does not remain technically the aspirant movement. That is why government knew that it will take 5, 10, 15 maximum days after that they will. It knew that. If the JNU would have been involved, if the DU would have been involved, then some other or Jamia would have been involved, then the government would have taken it very seriously. Because up then they knew that it is not going to die. But drawback क्या था? कि भाई उसमें से एक जो था, he was associated with JNU, the others were not, so they were mostly outsiders. So generally that happened. Fine, but still see, government has not taken any drastic measure. That is what government is. So anybody, even the death of that UPSC aspirant in Mukherjee Nagar, no, it's not suicide. It's categorized as suicide. Fine. How can somebody will have such a face if that was a suicide? His face is totally, that it is burnt or whatever.
I'm talking about another case also.
Not this. We are talking about Mukherjee Nagar. Not electric suicide. It was supposed to be electric suicide, but there is something like acid. Okay, they burn with acid in the face. Meena, that Meena boy. कहाँ पे? Meena, the student, no? Who went to the jungle and his body was not found. That is the case, no? That is Meena. He was supposed to write mains in his first attempt, right? And he was found dead 10 days before the mains. A few days before the mains, since 10 days he was not available, he was not visible. That's not suicide. They are terming it as suicide because there is no other reason. But the way body was seen, the way body was visible, right? It could not have been suicide. It was totally burned by acid, the face. And somebody going into the jungle and then using the tree to hang himself with that face. How is it possible? So somebody hanged him and then disfigured the face so that he could not be recognized. That may be the only reason. Or what? See, it doesn't. Now we cannot stop all those things. When you enter into a big metropolis, whether you're working, whether you're studying, whatever you're doing, you're a college student, whatever you are, it doesn't matter. Fine, you're part of the crowd. So you cannot avoid, you can be conscious. UPSC aspirants are supposed to be more conscious, but the problem now, the biggest problem is, if you're sending now today 17-year-old, 18-year-olds for UPSC prep, he has no wisdom. They have no wisdom. No? They can sit at home and prepare, right? If you're 21, at least you have done something. You would have some sense, right? But up 17 years old, 18 years, now they're calling all these undergraduates, 12th pass, to prepare for UPSC. What will they do here? How will they survive here? Unless they are locals, they cannot survive here. In any case, 17, 18-year-old anywhere going through some rigorous process of preparation or studying and then again preparing and then exposed to vulnerabilities around him. So that is a problem. When you're coming here on your own, right, you have to be very cautious. Either you have been brought up in that manner. Important. You cannot simply say, I was staying at home throughout my life, right? I was well protected. I never went out. Everything came to me. Fine. Everything was ordered at home. Now I've come to Delhi. I'll do everything on my own. Okay, that is why the education process is very important. No? अभी तो college बहुत important होता है. 12th के बाद UPSC बना दो, right? Exam ले लो, क्या फर्क पड़ता है? बात तो वही है. As you select people for IT, you select them from UPSC. What's wrong? Train them for 3-4 years. Fact है भाई. NDA में भी तो डिग्री मिलती है. वैसे NDA देश चला सकते हो, देश के लिए लड़ सकते हो, तो देश चला नहीं सकते. Let's see what's the problem. When you are dealing, because that is more specialized function. What kind of function is this? Generalist function. You cannot train simply through books and theories. You want these people to have exposure of the real world around them. Fine, chalo, ठीक है. So see you then tomorrow. Let's hope tomorrow we don't encounter so much of traffic. Fine, but this is really pathetic part of Delhi, especially this area, Karol Bagh and all this. They should actually, we can actually shift everything somewhere else, but right? But the problem is not everybody will shift, so that's also a big problem.
The problematic part is that pandal and noise will be recounted in super late function.
Obviously, now noise bhi hai. What problem kya hai?
Unlock your ethical edge with ProdEgyIAS. Join our Ethics Foundation program under the expert guidance of Ashutosh Pandey starting 4th August 2025. Master concepts, build perspectives, and excel in your UPSC journey. Enroll now at ProdEgyIAS, where success begins.